this lesson with Misty, we're going to be talking some more about how to make and use a line plot. We're going to be using some slides from the Ready Classroom Mathematics Volume 2 to talk about how we can measure things to the nearest quarter inch and then make data tables and make line plots and answer questions about line plots from data tables. So let's go to the first slide. So the first question says, use a ruler to measure the marker to the nearest ½ inch. How long is the marker? We're going to look at my ruler and I'm going to bring it up to my pen and I'm going to see how long it is. So I see that this marker is 3½ So I would fill in 3½ inches. And it says that Vicky chose B as the correct answer. How'd she get that answer? I'm going to guess that she didn't line up her ruler quite right. And it also says they want it to the nearest ½ inch, want it 1/4 of an inch. So I think when she measured it, she didn't quite line it up right. And then it also asks, what is it to the nearest ½ inch, not the nearest quarter inch. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to that. That was a tricky one. This one says, which set of data was used to make the line plot? All data are in inches. So let's look at our line plot. And we see that it's the length of toy planes, and the length is in inches. And let's see, we have 2½ inches. We have 1, 2, 3. So we need something that has 3 things that say 2½ inches. So I look at this first one. It doesn't have 3 that says 2½ inches. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to cross that one out. Don't want that one. This one doesn't even have any 2½ inches. It just has the number of x's. See this? It has 1, 2, 3. That's how many x's are here. 4 x's, 2 x's, 0, and then 1. That makes no sense. Nope. Not that one. And here's that top one. All they did was put these numbers that are at the bottom. That's all they did. Silly. All right, let's look at this one. We've got a 2½, a 2½, and a 2½. Okay, that's 3 of those. So that one takes care of these ones. So that's good. I've got these 3. Right here, I've got 2½, 2½, 2½. Okay, now let's see. It says that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 and 3/4. Let's see if there's 4 of those. So I look here and I go, yep, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, yay. Okay. Now I need 2 3s because that's what I have here. Do I have 2 3s? Yep, 1 and 2. And I've got no 3 1/4, and I've got 1 3½. And I've got 1 here. So it's got to be C. So C has to be my correct answer. Let's look at the next slide. So we have length of toy planes, airplanes again. And we have the length in inches. So it's the same line plot as we saw on the slide above. And we need to figure out, okay, are these true or are they false? So the first one says there are 4 airplanes shown on the line plot. Which thing are the airplanes? Are they these numbers that are here? Or are they the X's, like these? They are the X's. So it's how many X's there are. And if I see it, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's not 4 airplanes, so that's got to be false. Next question. None of the airplanes measures 3 1/4 inches. So I'm going to look at 3 1/4 inches, which is right here. And I'm going to say I've got no X's, so that is going to be true. All of the planes are longer than 2 inches. Okay, so let's think about that. Are all of them longer than 2 inches? Well, if I look at a ruler, I know that all of these numbers are past 2 inches because the 2 would be over here. Before this, I would have 2 1/4, and then I would have 2. So I would say, yeah, all of them are longer than 2 inches. And the last one says exactly 3 planes measure 2 3/4 inches. Well, let's see how many we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So that's going to have to be false. We got false, true, true, false. Those were our answers. Let's check our next question. So far, we're doing good. This says, use an inch ruler for this problem. Measure the leaves to the nearest 1/4 inch. Record the lengths in the table. We have leaf A. Let's see how long leaf A is. Oh, and if I look at my ruler, it says leaf A is 1 1/4 inch. So I'm going to put 1 1/4. Let's see B. B, if I look at it, says it's 1 1/2 inch. So I'm going to write 1 1/2. Oh, we're going to have to make it more like a Z because it doesn't like 2's. All right, now let's see C. So if I look at C, it says it's 1 3/4. All right, let's look at D. D is 1 1/4. And now let's look, if I look at E, I see it's 1. So now I can put in my measurements of my leaves. So I'm going to start at the lowest one, which is 1. And then I'm going to put the next one, which is 1 1/4. And then I'm going to put 1 1/2, which I'm going to make more like a Z because it has issues with it. There we go. The next one's going to be 1 3/4. Then I'm going to put 2 as my last length. And now, remember, I've got to put my X's. So if I look at 1 1/4, I've got 1, 2 of them. So I'm going to put 2 of them there. 1 1/2, I've got 1, so I'm going to put 1 there. 1 3/4, 1 here, and 1 right there. And that's how I would do my line plot. Let's look at this one. It says complete the line plot of the ribbon lengths data. Start by choosing a scale and labeling the scale numbers. Give the line plot a title. All right, so again, we want to look at what is the smallest number and what is the biggest number goes on. So we have the smallest already. They gave it to us as 2. So we need to think about what the biggest one is. And if you notice, this scale is not going by 1/4 inch. It's going by 1/2 inch. See how they only have halves? They don't have any 3/4. So we only have to go by 1/2 inch. So when I do this, I'm going to do 2 1/2. Then comes 3, 3 1/2. Then 4, 4 1/2, and then 5. And I really want to start and end on whole numbers, on numbers without a fraction. What do I want to call this? What could I call it? Maybe I'd call it ribbon length because that's what I have right up here. Okay, I could write ribbon length, and now I'm going to go through and put my X's. So I look at my first number is a 3, and I have a 2 1/2, another 2 1/2, I have a 3 1/2, 4 1/2, 3, 4 1/2, 4 1/2. And that's it. That's how I make a line plot using that data. And now we have another one. Draw a line plot of the given data. Start by choosing a scale and labeling the scale numbers. So on this one, we notice we only had halves. But on this one, I've got fourths and halves. And if I've got fourths and halves, that means I have to start. So this one, I wouldn't do it this way, but this is the way they're going to do it, which is kind of silly, is I like to start on whole numbers. But they're going to start on 5 3/4, and then they're going to go 6. Then after that comes 6 1/4, then 6 1/2, and then 6. Now, if it were me, I'd probably start at 5 and go to 6. But for this one, they just want us to start at 5 3/4 and go to 6 3/4. And again, I need a title, so I'm going to call this plant length because that's exactly the title of my table, so I might as well call my graph the same thing. And then again, I'm just going to look and see how many x's am I going to put for 5 3/4. Yeah, I'm only going to put 2. That's how many I have. How many x's am I going to put for 6? I'm not going to put any because I don't have any. How about 6 1/4? I have 2, so I'm going to put 2 x's. 6 1/2. I've got 1, 2, 3, so I'm going to put 3 of them. And then 6 3/4, I have 1. And that's it. That's how I make my line plot. So if you can do these things, you can make line plots like this from a data table. You can make a line plot from measuring like we did here with our rulers. We measured with our rulers. And you can answer questions about line plots, figure out if they're true or false, or figure out which data table goes with this line plot. And you can measure. So all of these things, if you do all these things, then you are all set for line plot and measuring to the nearest 1/4 of an inch. So that's it for this lesson with Miss D.